fast-paced changing of the world and technology, we wanted to try to reach that gap, right, with AI. So with that, we have a wonderful speaker, Kish, who I want to thank for coming together to present. I'm really excited. I'm actually really looking forward to this, to learn what it's like working at Chime, and the tools that are being used in AI. And then with that, I want to pass it off to Maribel and then Kish. And thank you so much for doing it, Kish.
Thanks, Jose. Well, yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today in this workshop, AI Tools in Finance. So we're excited to have Kish on. He's with us today. He's currently a senior software engineer on the AI and data team at Chime, and he works with kind of building AI-driven solutions, data infrastructure. Prior to Chime, he was senior data engineering roles like either at Smith RX, Callisto Media, contributed to LLM engineer at Unify 2, and early in his career worked as a data engineer supporting organizations kind of like Kaiser Permanente and JP Morgan. Throughout his career, Kish has worked across either data engineering, cloud platforms, machine learning, and most recently with large language models and AI applications. His experience gives him kind of like a unique perspective on how AI is changing the way we do business, especially in the finance teams, analyzing the data, automating workflows, and making decisions. So with that, I'll pass it on to Kish.
Thanks, Maribel, and thanks, Jose, for the warm and kind introductions. Let me get started, like sharing my screen. Okay, screen two, share. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Yes, so AI and finance. So I just wanted to say that things are moving really fast. Everyone's like trying to graduate now. Everyone's like looking at AI being like a big blocker to a lot of different things, an enabler as well. So it depends on what we are looking at as what we are looking for. And some of the real world examples which we are doing or happening is in Chime or any other fintech, which is like using how much AI we can. But I just want to let you guys know that all of the people who are like working hard on getting their masters or MBAs and stuff is super useful because you guys have an additional advantage now over the engineers who can code and stuff, because now AI helps you to stretch some muscles which you guys didn't know you guys had. So nothing is no longer like you need something to be learned. Coding is no longer a skill. It's more as how easily you can tell the program what you want. So this session is more about talking how AI can help us in finance and how MBA could be an advantage and a leading edge for you guys, when especially since I am thinking most of the audience would be graduates or MBA students here, or any graduate students here, or anyone working. So this could be a little bit towards that. Yeah, so this is me. There was an introduction by Maribel before, but I am Kishan. I currently work at Chime. I am part of the platforms team where we are a platform for AI and data. I have more than 15 plus years of experience building production grade systems, mainly on the regulated industries like healthcare and fintechs industry. So I worked with Kaiser for a long time, like around 8 years, and also with like Chime for like 3 years. Before that, Morgan Stanley for a few years. So been there, done a lot of work on the data aspect of things, especially it's a regulated industry. So we know all the HIPAA compliant, PHI information, all those things are required to be kept in mind when we are dealing with data and making data accessible to the whole of the enterprise. All right. Like I said before, previously, there were some bottlenecks. Like historically, analytics was more syntax driven. You needed to know how to code in one particular language. It could be R, it could be Python, it could be Java, or it could be SQL if you wanted to do. But that's an old bottleneck for us, because right now we are in an age where that's no longer a barrier. Do you know SQL joins? I don't know, but is it going to stop you? No, it's not. Right now, what is more important is knowing what to ask. We have so many tools right now, and these tools are evolving on a daily basis, not even weekly. It's on almost like on a daily basis. and they're getting better and better. They're benchmarking against themselves, and they're growing and growing, and it's just increasing in numbers. So what we need to know is like we need to understand what are we looking for. What in finance, everything is about numbers, and numbers is equal to data. So what does this number mean? How do we define this metric? What are the financial assumptions? How do we trust this data? And what kind of decision trade-offs we need to do. So I think those are things which would be like the game changers, or those are the new bottlenecks which we have. And I think having an MBA, going through a rigorous program, courses to understand what it means for a company, and if you guys are trying to work on a finance domain in a company, you guys would know what those things mean, and that could help us bridge this gap now. Something similar along the line about like tooling and programming skills, knowing Python, SQL, Excel, like Jose mentioned before. But now we can just pass those things to AI now. AI can generate code. What we need to do is we need to define how we want to get this decision. What kind of metric are we looking for? And what's like the time window we're looking for? And why is it important is because based on how you frame these, that's how the decisions are going to come across. And whatever decisions the AI is giving it to you or the LLM is trying to give out to you, you have to challenge those assumptions. You have to make sure the data was like properly reconciled, what kind of actions you want to take. So we have to be very responsible in what we obtain from AI. Do you believe it? Do you trust it? That's up to you before you can take that piece and, like say it out to others. Um, let's take an example. Like I know now the chat GPT is there, everything is there. So we get a lot of spreadsheets, we have like PDFs, data, everything is there. So what we try to do is like we create like a massive prompt. We try to dump everything to chat GPT, and then we would be like, hey, I have given you like charts and the financial growth for the last year. There's like some more mixed trends available for the financial growths here. And I'm just giving it to you, like give me like dashboards and give me the following trends and stuff. And everyone's like, okay, one shot prompt, let's do it. And it gives us pretty good output. Like once you just look at it, be like, wow, there's a trend there. There is something which is happening, which is looking great. I think the company is doing really good. And then what happens is that's our expectation. But then the reality is when you showcase that to different stakeholders within the company, because you are the finance team, you have to talk to different stakeholders, like, and everyone's going to be like, I don't think that's the number, and that's not going to help you get what you wanted to do. So this talk is more about I was thinking of doing a workshop, but then I thought, why should I promote one particular LLM model right now? Like, why should I talk about like ChatGPT when someone's using Claude? Why should I talk about Claude when someone's like Gemini fan? So I was thinking more of agnostic approach here and what we need to think about when we build some agents on top of the LLM. So this is going to be more about us trying to understand how to build agents, and how can that be useful for us. But before we jump into that, what is the major important thing which we can all agree upon is that the raw data and single prompt will not help because the data is not ready. And finance data doesn't come just from one spreadsheet or from one particular system. It is, especially if you're trying to do something for a whole enterprise wide, it's not going to be that easy. So that's where a lot of data teams are very important, even though it's very mundane job of maintaining the pipelines, making sure the data is correct, the metrics are correct. But what happens is there's a reconciliation using multiple systems. There's like ERP systems. There would be definition changes between one group versus the other group. And the timing difference, which you spoke about, like the accruals versus like when did this settle? Because the charges takes a couple of days. If you swipe something, you see it in your statement, but it's just light gray. It's not black yet because it's like taking time for it to settle down. So when do you see it? So those timing differences and what kind of data, who can see? Because you cannot provide all the data to everyone in the company. You have to be very specific. Who's your audience? Why do they need to look at this particular piece of information? Is it the sensitive information? So understanding all of these would help you curate or provide a proper outcome. It could be an analytical, it could be, a chart, a trend, what we are trying to forecast. It could be anything, what we are trying to achieve out there. Um, and I know that you guys would have learned or something regarding like different types of analytical layers, which is available in a finance domain. It could be like a descriptive analysis, which is like budget versus accruals. AI can explain the differences. How much was the vendor spend happening for this particular vendor to another vendor? So all the descriptive analysis can be helped with our AI if you are able to prompt it properly, guide it properly, and make sure it understands where that particular source data is coming from. Similarly, we also have like other analysis where predictive is something which you are going to forecast what may happen. Like anything you think about forecasting or in the future, it's called like predictive analytics. So you could do like a fraud loss forecast. What's going to be like the volume which is going to increase, our support volume is going to increase or decrease. What happens if our users like churn out? Are there downside cases? Those kind of prediction analytics would be done in like predictive analysis. And prescriptive analytics is like, what should we do? We know what the data looks like and what do we do? What are the actions which we might be trying to take from there? So this, we can still have AI compare with your ROIs, payback period, risk adjusted returns. And that could also help us to understand and have this analysis done with possibility. So from all of this, these things are easily available, but how do we guide it? How do we guide, or how do we make an LLM better by what things we should add to it, what things we should make sure it's not there, it's there, and how are we able to justify it? So that's when I am thinking of letting you guys know how to build like a framework for building a financial agent. This is one of the frameworks from multiple different frameworks which various different companies are using right now. Everyone's trying out different strategies, and something I am coming up with this here is you start with a business question. You understand what is your business goal first, because understanding your business question, are you trying to do with the ROI? Are you working with the fraud department? What are you trying to work with? Because from the financial team, there would be different questions from different departments. So understanding the business question is a major crucial thing. And that's the first thing, because if we don't know what the business question is, we are just going to ask questions and it's going to spit data and we're just going to think it's the right answer. We would not be able to know what we are trying to solve for. So business question is the first and foremost important thing. Once we know that, we would be providing it with an approved data set. It could be your data warehousing system. It could be if that's the source of truth, it could be you got a spreadsheet from a vendor who claims that to be your source of truth. And that could be another next point, which we can use is providing that necessary data to your LLM or to your agent. That could help you to constrain what it can see and why it should see. And sorry, did I lose you guys there? All right.
It's a really good point, though, because if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure you know what it is that you're inputting first.
Correct. And especially with an enterprise-wide data, multiple people build multiple things where your data warehouse is not just owned by you, or there is going to be a golden data set for sure, but there are going to be multiple people trying to build multiple things. So you have to understand and have the agent validate the data which is approved with the golden data set. If not, again, like multiple people will see multiple reports and the numbers won't match. And that's going to make someone angry, and that someone is like in the C-level. And that's not good. Been there. Why is this number not matching? Yeah, okay, we got to look into it. So, especially if the company is more public or private, like still the numbers are numbers, and it's very important numbers. So, Validation part is pretty important as well. Once you get the data, the agent also validates it with a golden data set to make sure the numbers match. Now we are good. Now the agent can start with reasoning. Why is the number like this? It can do the predictive, prescriptive, what kind of reasoning it wants to do. Now the agent can do the reasoning. Once the agent reasons out, then there would be like guardrails, because who is asking for this question? Since you're building this agent, it could be someone from the fraud team. It could be someone from a different team, like just an analyst team. Or it could be from the finance team itself, like they know all the details of the numbers. So they can ask any kind of questions, because let's say someone in the company uses this agent and says like, what's the Q2 results going to happen? Like, what is it going to look like? Your agent cannot just give away the data. So it needs to be very mindful. So the guardrails are pretty important. No understand who is asking for it, what's the access, and then there would be like a recommendation, which should be auditable. So whatever recommendation comes, we need to capture it, we need to store it, and then it comes to us. When it comes to us, we should be the ones, if we want to push it off, or if we think it's good, everything is good, then we sign it off. We provide this number to our partners. But before that, we are more confident now because this data has been provided from an approved data source. It has been vetted and validated. And whoever is going to see it are the audience who are supposed to see it. So that's the whole framework. But I want to dive more deeper into the guardrails part, because guardrails is something which is more than validation of data alone. It's more how we can keep everything trustworthy. And agents needs to be trustworthy, because instead of, if they're representing a financial team, they're almost representing you. Oh, there's a question.
Yeah, my question is like how there's so many departments like the marketing, the finance, and I'm sure that everyone wants, okay, they're like, they know the data is out there and they come to you and they're like, we want to see this. But when it sensitive information, how do you handle that? And you're like, actually, like I can't share this with you. It's confidential, or it's, it has to be vetted. It's not out, it's not ready to be released yet. How do you navigate that?
That's a great question, actually. So usually people look into dashboards, and dashboards are controlled based on their access. So we have different tiers for different groups, who can see what. And all of the PHI information is like masked in our warehousing, so that the data is not sent to even us. So we have like at rest and even during transit, we mask them. But there are multiple layers of who can see what, and that depends upon like all of them are like RBAC systems, which is like role-based access control. So that helps us to understand which team we are working with and what they're supposed to see. And that's how we stay in compliant. And even if someone else, let's say in the data engineering team itself, tries to, query a table directly, thinking there is data in there, we get alerts and notification, which are like the audit and trail logging system, which gets captured. And our security team would ask you what was the reason why you were trying to look into this particular table. So there's a lot of ways you touch something, people get to know, and they're gonna come back and ask you. And if you have a valid reason, there could be a valid reason too, like they are working on a fraud related case and they wanted to see something out, which is fair. So it's not like everyone's like completely shut down. It's just that they need to have proper access, proper clearance, and then they would be able to go take a look into the data. And that is completely taken care by like the RBAC systems. And great question, by the way. And similarly, that particular RBAC system can be also utilized by our guardrails. So first, we know what are the vetted systems, what are the verified systems, which we know the data is really good. So those are the trusted data points, which would be part of the guardrail system. If I just build a table for myself and the table is not yet ready, that was one more question of yours, it won't be part of the trusted data, because there's like multiple tagging involved in our data warehouse, where you tag this data to be gold. That means it's like ready for consumption. If it's not yet tagged, so that cannot be a trusted data at that point. So that's why there's like golden dashboards, where if they're just using dashboards, there's a separate dashboarding terminology where you only use golden dashboard metrics. So it's all like pure and vetted, and it's going to be same across different domains when you try making dashboards. The next point is like access and privacy. So as we spoke about like RBAC system, which is like role-based access control. we go deeper as well to make them more like columnar based, columnar level masking, and also like approved data sources for which particular team should look into what particular data aspect as well. And we have more of like anonymized payroll data as well. So that way people don't know what's happening in the payroll department. Like everyone's confidentiality is like kept in place. That way the data is safe, and good for using for only who can use them. That same logic would also apply for an agent. The agent should not be able to like go get data for everyone's information because of
Hmm.
law. So that's where the guardrails are going to help us understand what should look for, what it should not look for, and the other thing is like increasing limits, and the policy and compliance. I think that's where you guys have a pretty solid grasp on it. Like when you build policies, when you build like the compliances on what can be done, because all of these are like fintech companies would have regulatory industry. They need to work with it. They have a policy built on top of it. So understanding the rules and everything would help us build these guardrails, which would help the agent to also adhere to those guardrails and policies. And the other things are like audit and risk reasoning outputs, which again, it takes about the source, it takes the assumptions. It's good for us to have a confidence scoring. And then what it does, it like it's gathered all of this information. If the scoring is not that great as we wanted, it can provide you an answer, but it can say it's a low confidence answer. So, like where you have to sign off, you are like, okay, I see it's a low confidence answer now. So I should do a little bit more manual digging into the data before I can like present it to someone. So that gives you more clarity as well, rather than, like doubting the agent all the time. So this is going to help you have an outcome, which is going to make it easier for you to understand that.
It's a really good
Um,
point to ask how confident are you with their output?
yeah,
Because oftentimes it's, it can hallucinate, it can be like, yeah, this is right. And it's like, well, actually, are you right? And then it goes back and you're like, it's like, yeah, you're right. Let me look back into this.
Yeah, it's a great point because it shows up very confident at the beginning itself. Like, hey, I know I did everything for you. It's the right thing. You just need to go and submit this. But then you like push it back a couple times. Like it goes back and says like, no, I'm not that. Oh, maybe you're right. So yes, but if it's part of an agentic route itself, the agent, because you won't be part of a active loop of that. It's like if you see thinking, trying to, like if you write something, it does a few things in the, so this would be part of that particular process where it itself likes to look for it and improve its efficiency and confidence by scoring a few things on few different things. Two agents which we can think of for example purposes is like having like a fraud loss insight agent. Um, it's what does it do is like it tries to understand how did the fraud loss increase from last year to this year. We would have the terminologies for what is a fraud loss rate, what's the chargeback rate, transaction volume. So this can diagnose these kind of business problems. As we were talking, like we need the business problem first to be the question. And then even it goes to like segment level risk, or even like false positives and exposure. And what can it return to us? Like the output could be like volume was like rate breakdowns. This is just an example agent where we can think what we want that agent to work for us. So it could just, because people keep asking about fraud loss insights, right? Because what happened here? It was the same. Is it same as the last year? Because fraud loss is not as seasonal as like you see revenue growth or, member churning and stuff. So this can change periodically, and this could help you to answer the same kind of questions, but your agent could be built for this, and that agent would be able to answer it for them. I think Jose has a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kish. Just to make sure I'm getting it clear, for finance in this case, we're revolving to now use agents, right? Or is it correct? Using agents as our main source, not just inputting everything into cloud code. We're using more like an agent system.
Correct. We are building
Okay.
an agent with all these systems, and how we build an agent is the whole framework for. You can use Cloud Core for one-off use cases, but if you want to do it in a repeated process and you get consistency over time, how you make this undeterministic thing deterministic, you would need a framework for that and how to build the agents, and that's what I'm coming around. Thanks for like asking the clarification question if that didn't properly sit together.
Yeah, can I
This
ask another one? Just because you work at Chime, and this kind of ties into like what is it you do? What does Chime do? Why is fraud loss so important for you to know?
That's a great question. Why is fraud loss important is because Chime is a fintech company. We have partner brands where we have a lot of accounts, and the accounts are none other than people like us. If there's a transaction which goes out of $1,000 from our bank accounts, we would be sad. So will our members be sad? So that's why fraud loss insights was very important for us because people just can attack your account and understanding that earlier could help us identify that particular transaction, block it out if needed. And if someone's trying to debug it, why did this particular trend is happening this way? And we would be able to see it based upon what kind of transaction volumes was happening and how is it different from the previous transaction. And we can, put it fraud, like how we all get some notification saying there was a swipe of 345 in Walmart. Did you buy that kind of a thing in Ohio somewhere? So that's where we do a lot of these real-time analysis and fraud detection as well. And that's why it's very important for us.
Have you seen fraud increasing in the last few years?
Um, I would want to say yes and no. Why
Okay.
I say yes and no is because like we are also expanding in different segments of our products. So we have like EPAs like earn wage access. So you can just use that for getting back your own, taking a loan from yourself kind of a thing. And also sometimes people do buy things, but it might be a false positive. That time they approve it, and there's a secondary level where a human in the loop is already there. And people just call and ask like these was a transaction which was happening. So we have a chatbot which takes care of those things pretty well. So we have used AI to remediate, but fraud loss is getting lower actually because like our security systems have been increasing, and then we are able to detect a lot of activities earlier than before because we learn from data and we evolve over things. So yes, it's reducing down is what I would say.
That's great. It looks like Jose has a question.
Yeah, so I great points. Yeah, I've seen those videos on YouTube about the scammers, about the grandmas that call into the lines and they get their money, their pension money taken away. So it's a really good point to talk about that. With that in mind, I had another good question. So for AI chat agents, specifically like at Chime, is there anyone in particular that you use, or how do you go about building an AI agent for those that are fresh grads that have no like experience in AI? Like, how do you go about even creating an AI agent for newbies?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would ask Claude to build my own agent as well. So talking to Claude or Claude, I'm just like Claude or any other LLM which is out there in the market. So there are various different agentic workflows, and like Google has its own agentic workflow kit, SDK kit like ADK. It's called like Agent Development Kit. Similarly, there's lots of other agent development kits like LangChain has one. You would once you talk to Claude, you would say like, I would like to build an agent with a lot of these kind of steps involved in it. It's going to ask you for if you have a specific developer kit. You can just say any one developer kit. You can just pick it up and use, because under the development kit you have to specify what kind of a model you want to use. And for model you want to use, there are two ways of doing it. You again like have a paid subscription to an API rater. So you go to like ChatGPT, there's going to be an API token which you have to copy, because you are saying I'm ready to pay like $100 for this agent to use, because every time it's going to ask questions or you're going to ask a prompt to it, it's going to run at the end, and it runs somewhere, right? So it's going to use that particular API from ChatGPT to use its GPT 5.5 or 5.6. And then that's going to cost you money. There is another way you can do this if it's more not a very high thinking capability model. You can do offline models as well. So there's a lot of offline models which you can run on your MacBooks, honestly. So there's something like Quen 2.5 billion or like 3.5 billion, which is like 3.5 version with 7 billion parameters training, which does a lot of good things. Like it can summarize and a lot of different those kind of things, which is good for an LLM activity kind of thing where you need to understand from a text aspect of things. And that could be useful if you can run it locally as well, so to manage your day. Like let's start with something simple before you build in the financial thing. But when you go to a enterprise wide, it's more on how the data is more set up, and there would be a semantic layer on top. And we build agents which connect with the semantic layer, because the semantic layer is the business object terminologies where this table connects to this table, but why does it connect and how does it connect with these tables? What is the relationship? What kind of queries have been already tested and vetted? So giving those information to our agent, we get like a SQL agent as well, which is specific for Chime, and we can utilize that into other agents by tools or other skill sets which we can use. And then once you have your agent ready, you can just deploy it to a local server initially for you to test, like it would be just in your system itself. And you can do all of this using Claude. You just need to prompt it saying this, or you can these days talk, like you can talk more than type. I would recommend you guys just try it out, have fun with it. Like Olama is the server which is needed for offline models, so you don't pay anything, but you can still try or feel how it all connects together. Awesome. Cool. The next agent I was having in mind was like a finance variance agent. Um, this is also an important tool for us to have just for, as an agent, because you would be able to understand between what's like the budget, what's like how are we the actuals going, the OpEx cost by employees. Like let's say for example, there was an OpEx cost increase by like 20% recently, and people started to ask what happened. Everything's the same. We didn't have any new vendors. How did it increase? Apparently, Claude introduced Fabulify. So everyone started using Fabul, our token started burning, and then we had to see so much spike in the AI cost OpEx. So yeah, so those kind of things can be captured out as an example. I'm slightly rushing since I was planning to get it done by like 5:35 so we can have more questions. But um, the whole thing, what I spoke about was the business questions now is like an intent. And you define the metrics, what you want, and you query. That's like getting the data from the database, and it gets validated. So it checks with the golden data set, and then we analyze, we reason it out, and then we apply the guardrails before we like recommend something, and then sign off comes back to us, and we say, hey, that looks good. You guys should start thinking of like handling a junior analyst by asking more sharper questions to your LLM models, agents, defining the right metrics, challenge what it says, like ask it back. Be that 5-year kid who is curious. Why is this like this? Why shouldn't it be like that? Make it think more. And then once you get the data out, if you're doing an agentic work, when you build the scoring language, you get the scores, high confidence. But before that, you get to that particular part, you have to validate the output for you to feel more confident and see what is happening. And then you decide and take an action. The MBA advantage here is like not writing every query. You just need to direct, validate, and decide. AI can accelerate the whole analysis part of it. It cannot own the accountability part, which we have to own. Um, that's my final take here is that AI makes execution faster, but the judgment becomes more valuable. And with more information about what we are learning about different financial aspect or business aspect in MBA, I think you guys would have that stronger. So the next generation financial leaders will win by combining financial literacy, strategic judgment, governed data, and AI enabled execution. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much. Well, I have a set of questions, but if anyone in the audience wants to ask, please unmute yourself and just ask away.
I have a question. So you said the data that you're using with Chime, obviously it's very sensitive data, and you even have specific rules on who can access data. How do you choose which AI platform to use an agent so that you know that it's secure? Is the agents built into your infrastructure?
That's a great question, Tracy. We have, again, tie-ups with the companies where they would call us, we have the sensitivity agreement and all those things, and then we would be building on top of that. There are open source frameworks as well if you need, but there are also other paid enterprises which provide, like LangChain is something which we are working with for our agentic development. So we use LangChain along with, we are tied up with Claude. So we use a lot of Claude models.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kish. My name is Sheil. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for, taking the time to present to us. I have more kind of a general question. I'm wondering if you could kind of tell us about any of the challenges that you've had implementing some of the agentic workflows, and if so, what were the things that you guys were able to do to overcome those challenges? Thank you.
Um, Hey, Snail, that's a great question. We came up across a lot of challenges for sure. Some of them, just for us to understand, is how do we route it? Like routing is a little important, or having guardrails is very important because when you try to fetch data from multiple different sources, you have to have the source of truth, and which one is the source of truth, and what was the metrics in which particular time, because the metrics keep changing. Because today someone is called active for some reason, tomorrow they would be inactive for some other reason. So understanding the variance along with time was a little bit of a challenge we face. So we created our own semantic layer where we were able to capture historical changes based on code-based changes, what was happening. And that gave us like a holistic timeline. If someone is asking 2024 question, it would have different business meaning to it. And that way it captures the correct information of what we need to pick it up at that particular year to what it is right now. So that was one challenge which we faced. So we had to build a different kind of a thinking hat for that, and then we were able to solve that using like semantic modeling with version controlled abilities to it.
We have one in the chat. It says, do you have an internal team which does due diligence about Chime-specific agents that are being developed?
That's a great question too. Yes, there's a lot of AI ethics team which would be looking at the agents which we make. Before that we will get approvals, and how are we building and improvising our agents.
We have another question that says, you mentioned that AI in finance starts with AI data discipline, not prompting. As AI models become increasingly commoditized, do you think financial data engineering, the ability to build clean, reconciled, governed data pipelines will become the real competitive advantage? And if so, what would mastery of that discipline look like over the next 5 years?
That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know, with the way technology is evolving, how things are moving. Mastering in 5 years would look like something I am handling a lot of agents, I guess. Like I am a master of puppets at that point, I guess, and I should be able to do a lot of agentic work with. I just have my set of agents who can go get data for me, bring it out, and clean it up for me, and then reconcile together and somehow present the cleanest good data sets out there. But yeah, that's a food for thought question.
Yeah, Jose?
Yeah, one other thing, I know that in AI, automation is everything now. I don't know if you've heard of like OpenClaw, where everything's like the AI does everything for you, reply to emails, phone calls, all of that. How much of that do you guys use at Chime, or do you guys use that at all? Like,
We have a lot of AI tools enabled in Chime itself, but we don't use OpenClaw and stuff because that's still open sourced, and we don't know what we don't know. So what kind of data it stores and looks for it. People try a lot of things saying that I can just text in a WhatsApp or a Discord message and that goes and build my whole website. And maybe for content creators, it would be easy for them because they just have to scrape through existing public data and then, build something out of it. But our AI partners have been all enterprise partners. Like we have like Glean, like ChatGPT, Claude, these kind of partners, because our data, or like our data ecosystem, would be able to easily integrate with them, and it enables and enhances our workflow because Glean has its own agents where it can read your email, it can go through Slack channels, and then provide you, like, not just every engineer needs to use it. Even people who are in different department can use it for various different things, like summarizing what happened. Did you miss out on a couple of days ago chat? Someone pinged you on here, you missed it out because there's like chat is these days noise. So yeah, there are a lot of agents which are enterprise driven, and that's where Chime thinks and connects with them, I guess.
Okay, we have one in the chat. It says, how do you approach partnering with IT when deploying AI for business use in order to prevent finance teams from becoming shadow IT teams?
How do you approach partnering with developing AI for business use in order to prevent finance teams from becoming? Oh, that's a great question too. Finance teams will not be able to become a shadow team because they are the ones who decide and create policies, work on a lot of different metrics. So they would not be part of a shadow team. They would be the inventors kind of a thing, is what I would think, because you need a business problem, and based on financial decision what the company takes, it comes down to the finance team, and based on that you guys have to take a business decision, irrespective of knowing what the forecasters or what was the trend before. But still, there should be some humans who are taking some hard calls or easy calls there. But I don't think they are becoming shadow IT teams, in my opinion.
Hmm. We want to be respectful of everyone's time, so I have just a couple more questions for you. But again, we have your QR code if anyone wants to connect with you. So, as many of us are MBA students and finance professionals who don't have a lot of like software engineering backgrounds. So, if someone has little or no coding experience, what are the best ways that they can kind of begin leveraging AI to make themselves more valuable?
Could you repeat the last part? Sorry. The best place to implement agents, so that AI tools, you said?
What was it? Like, what are the best ways that AI can be leveraged to kind of make ourselves more valuable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say don't wait for the perfect opportunity or the perfect problem to come up for you to explore AI in ways where you are waiting for that particular moment. I would say try to incorporate things in your daily activity where you can, like um, using for MBA classes is something
Mm-hmm.
which you can start with, like building like a small pet project for yourself, especially with these local LLMs on Olama. You can just do it for no money involved. Like you just need to download things in your system and make it run locally, and you can just see how it can work. If you're hunting for a new used bike, use that as a bike scout, which I just made an own agent out of it, trying to find a used bike. So, and it gives you a daily summary of it, runs at one particular time, it looks for these things. So try to incorporate where you can. And like I said, like we don't need to know how to code anymore. Like you need to know
Mm-hmm.
what you're thinking and how you want to express that out. And that should be enough. And you can redirect your Claude to write 100 lines of code again in a different way if you want to, because you don't like it, you don't like it. So just explore things, and that would give you more ideas and stuff how you can utilize it in your day-to-day work as well.
That's awesome. All right, my last question is if you were hiring someone for kind of like a finance analytical role today, what AI related skills or kind of mindset would you want the candidate to have in order for them to stand out?
um, I would say we test upon AI fluency, so understanding how you deal with if I throw a problem at you, how would you deal it with an AI
Mm,
sense or with an AI assisted way that helps you increase the execution time, like what we've been talking about. So if you know that particular way, I think you're already AI fluent and you know how to utilize it. And that is what we might look for.
how can you improve efficiencies?
Yes. How do we improve efficiencies? Sorry.
Yeah, how do you like improve all the efficiencies? Like want to make everything more efficient, right? So whatever you can do to
Yeah.
reduce the time it takes you to do something.
The world is moving towards that, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
the more you do things, there are more things to do. So it's not like we are done and we are all perfect and we are living in a perfect world. Nothing's going to break. So if something new is going to come and something new is going to be more efficient, we're going to jump onto that again. So it's a cycle, but we gotta learn, because that enables us as well to use our time to think more about what we want.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank the team too. I wouldn't have been able to make this possible if it wasn't for the rest of the GFA team. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you. For those of you guys that want to connect with Kish, he's an amazing resource. So please take advantage of that. And with that, we'll conclude the session. Thank you so much for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.